Gary, really good to see you. Look, you've had a chance to sleep on it now. So what are your reflections this morning on what you saw last night in Miami?
Just a critically important victory. I think that obviously when you get to a quarter-final, ideally you'd like to play brilliantly well. You'd like to win by 2 or 3 goals. You'd like everything to be perfect. But the reality of it is such that there's so much on the line for both teams. The heat, I think it was something like 40, 41 degrees. And having played in that level of heat, mainly in pre-season and in a couple of tournaments myself, it's horrible and definitely impacts the speed of the game. It impacts sort of the physicality of the player. So I think just to get through the game, I know Thomas Tuchel wanted a little bit more out of the performance. I can understand that. You know, that was the last sort of point of failure, I think, for him last night. If England had been knocked out against Norway, it wouldn't have been received well. So I can understand why he, at the end of the game, was just probably angry through relief that he now gets to a semi-final where I think probably you're into the realms of you can lose these games. You know, Argentina in the semi-final with Messi and with their experience, you know that you can play well and it can't quite happen for you, and vice versa. England could win as well. So I think we're in a great position. I think if you said at the start of the tournament that we would sort of get through in that way against Norway, you'd have snapped anybody's hand off. And I think that obviously Jude Bellingham was the match winner again and game changer for England.
Of course, and he's been consistently brilliant in this tournament. So on the whole, there was some criticism, wasn't there, about England's performance, but the result is what it was. How would you rate personally England's performance in this one, Gary?
It wasn't a great performance from a point of view, but were we ever going to get a great performance in that level of heat? I honestly think it's really difficult for English teams. I think that I've seen English teams suffer far worse than that in tournaments over the last 30, 40 years. And so I know it's the same for the Norwegians. You can't say it was a great performance, but what you can say, it's a victory in a quarter-final of a competition that's the biggest competition in the world. And that it does get to a point. I'd like England to be playing better. I'd like them to be combining better. I'd like to see more patterns. But the reality of it is this tournament is a lot about moments, and it's a lot about big players turning up, and we have that.
Really do. Now, there were some major talking points that came out of the game, not least the comments made by Tukel and Bellingham after the game about the match and about each other's comments. Tukel said England were lucky. Let's just listen again to what Bellingham said and how he responded.
Maybe he doesn't know what it's like to play in those kind of conditions against Erling Haaland, Odegaard, Nusa, Sorloth. You know, that's not an easy team to play against. So, you know, I think we've tried to create a positive environment. We should continue that going into the Final Four. I can't speak highly enough for the lads. You're not going to win every game popping the ball and making 1,000 passes. Sometimes you have to win dirty, and we've done that again tonight.
Tuchel said after the game in interviews that you were a tad lucky also to beat Norway today. What do you think about the statement from the boss?
No comment.
What do you reckon to that, Gary?
I really liked it. I think when I look back to sort of the previous couple of tournaments, maybe I'm not a great believer in players not doing interviews, particularly when you're the best players in the team. The reason is that you're asking other players to do the interviews for you, because one thing's for certain, an England player has to do interviews after a football match. Now, if you're the guy that's basically the star player, if you're the guy that's going to go and win us the games, I think you're the guy that's got to go and speak. And the Jude Bellingham in every single game in this tournament has spoken, even after the Ghana draw earlier in the tournament when it wasn't a great England performance. There was a bit of criticism flying around. So I think there are only a number of players that can make interviews like that can sort of what would be punched back a little bit at the manager, and he's one of them. I like Thomas Tuchel's interview as well. I lived with that for 20 years in a Manchester United dressing room with a manager who wasn't always happy when he won, and would go out there and sometimes surprise us by what he would say publicly about the quality of the performance when you might have won 2-3-1 in a big game. So I can live with that as well. I don't mind Thomas Tuchel's interview, but I really love Jude Bellingham's interview because I think he's taken responsibility on the pitch and off the pitch throughout this tournament. And to me, I played with enough great players to know that's what you have to do. And he's... Oh, can you believe someone's... that's room service ringing me back. I'm sorry.
Gary, come on. Come on, you can get your breakfast later.
I will. I'll deal with that in a bit. But going back to Jude Bellingham, in this... Oh, goodness gracious. Going back to Jude Bellingham,
Good morning.
Oh my goodness. Excuse me. See you later. Bye.
What are you ordering? Omelette, couple of hash browns?
No, it's actually some yogurt and some berries, believe it. Now I'm trying to be healthy for a little bit. I've eaten enough burgers and chicken wings in this tournament. I kid myself. What I do is I kid myself for 3/4 of the day that I'm healthy, and then basically blow it in my last meal in the evening.
That's what we do. When you go to America and those kind of countries, you just eat your way around it.
Yeah, but going back to Jude Bellingham, look, I will be critical of players who don't stand up and do interviews. I will be critical of players who don't believe that the off-pitch stuff is as important in taking responsibility as the on-pitch stuff. And players who don't believe the out-of-possession stuff is not as important as the in-possession stuff. Because I played with enough great players to know that you can be good in possession and out of possession. He has been absolutely sensational. Honestly, it gives me goosebumps to watch a performance like that. I don't think I've ever seen an England player have an influence in a tournament like that. And I was with Gazza in '96, I was with Rooney in 2004, and with Michael Owen in '98, and I watched those things live. And I've never seen anything like this. This is absolutely exceptional. It is of the highest level. The doubts before the tournament, which, to be fair, you know, the few of us that are working on ITV here never had. We never thought that it was a question of Rodgers or Bellingham. We thought Bellingham was a superstar, but he had to prove it. He had to prove it on the biggest stage. And being a superstar isn't just about delivering on the pitch. And I think that interview is one of someone who is completely and utterly comfortable, confident, safe in his own sort of what would be personality, his character. He's 23 years of age. It is absolutely monumental what that lad is doing. And there is no one in this country, you know, you think about my daughter. My daughters love football. They're 16 and 17 years of age. They absolutely adore him. He is a hero. And every kid in England right now is watching this World Cup and they're thinking they're Jude Bellingham. And the impact that he is having on young people in our country, on young people around the world, in obviously this country that we're in the US, honestly, it's magnificent. So, look, we've got a game on Wednesday. I think that there may be a little bit made about the Tukel Bellingham stuff. That's obviously something that's been going on for 12 months. But Tukel ain't dropping him. And by the way, Bellingham, to be fair, is also probably respecting his manager for having the guts to actually say it after as well. If he thinks, you know, particularly, he may not do now, but in certainly 5, 10, 15 years, when he thinks about excellence and elite performance, he'll recognise that Thomas Tuchel was only striving for more out of the team at a point whereby he believes they can deliver more.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Two big personalities with big egos, but also people that know how to perform on the world stage, just going at each other in an honest and transparent way that perhaps we haven't seen through England before.
I've seen so many England managers. There's this sort of what would be thinking when you're an England manager that they're not your players, and you've somehow got to make sure you keep them happy. And you've got to somehow make sure that you sort of send them back to their clubs happy, and you've got to make sure that when they're there, you've got to cuddle them and look after them and sort of like, mollycoddle them. The only manager that I ever had with England that, to be fair, didn't do that was Terry Venables, and he was the best manager I had with England by a country mile. I remember him used to take on big characters, you know, like Paul Ince or Paul Gascoigne. He would rip right into them at half-time in football matches, and they would have a go back. And that's when you've got accountability at the highest level, where people can, to be fair, be straight with each other. What you have is basically, I think sometimes, is not just in football, but in life, where you have people who are not willing to have the difficult conversations with each other. Thomas Tuchel comes out, he's given an interview, he's not happy with the performance because he knows that team can do better, and he knows they'll have to do better to beat Argentina. Secondly, he's got a player who, to be fair, wants a little bit of respect for getting to a World Cup semi-final, and for the achievements and the effort and the commitment that the players have put in. So for me, I've got no problem with this type of stuff. I think it happens. I witnessed it at the club I played for a long time, whereby you had these massive characters and egos, and you had this manager who, to be fair, was a ferocious, tenacious, unbelievable winner. And sometimes it comes to a head, but it's not a problem. It's better to be like that than it is the other way.
And he's obviously managing to get the best out of Jude Bellingham. We've seen glimpses of Jude on the world stage, Gary, in previous tournaments. But for him to be doing it like this, so consistently at his age on the world stage, how has he taken that step up? How has he become who he is in this tournament?
Well, it comes to a point in your career where you have got to deliver on the highest stage, or you don't, and your legacy will be determined and defined by that. That's why the great players are the great players. That's why I used to sit at right back and look up towards the great players that I played with and have so much admiration for them and be grateful and thankful for them, because we were there to serve this type of player that could go and win you the game. And if they win you the game, it's the hardest thing to do. And he's thought this is his moment. Everybody's sort of looking at him. Everybody's questioning whether he is world class. Even I, into this tournament, I thought that Harry Kane was our only true world class player.
Yeah.
And that we had Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham were just sat that sort of bit below where you thought, no, you've just got to do a bit more yet. There's a bit more for you to do. He's just gone and done it. He's just gone and climbed that sort of extra step, which is a massive step onto that sort of what would be world-class mountain. Was talking to Roy Keane and Ian Wright after the game last night, and they said, right now, if you're watching football, you're seeing the best midfield player in the world. And that's not because he's scoring goals, by the way. We don't tend to sort of give flowers too much for the goals. We know we need them, but it's the other bits around it that go to meet the complete player that gives him the edge. And what I liked about that interview isn't just the words that come out of his mouth, it's the look in his eyes. You know, you see the look in his eyes of someone who, to be fair, is fierce, who's completely and utterly determined to go and succeed. Now, look, we've got a massive game against Argentina on Wednesday, and we know in football, it's knockout football, that things can go wrong. But we've got to enjoy him, and we've got to enjoy where we are while it's happening.
Look, you've already described Jude as a leader on and off the pitch. You've mentioned his profile, the fact that your two daughters love him, the whole country loves him. He bangs in goals, he creates opportunities. Do you see him, Gary, as England's next superstar? Are we talking, like, in a couple of years' time, if he carries on the way he is, he could be in Sir David Beckham territory?
My doorbell's ringing. This happened in an interview with Sky Sports News the other day. Can you believe that, honestly?
Gary, should we book you in for another time?
So this isn't England's next superstar. This is England's superstar right now. This is not the next superstar. This is happening. You've got to recognise this is obviously game-changing. You're performing in a World Cup. You've scored 6 goals. You've literally been unbelievable, both in attack and defence. You've got your team through almost single-handedly with the support of Harry Kane. And I don't want to take Harry Kane for granted, because Harry Kane, we just know he's going to do what he does, and we know he's going to score goals if he gets chances. 1 second.
He's not gone to get his breakfast. Live on Sky Sports News. You're going to have to show us what it is, Gary. I want a step-by-step rendition of what's in this. Oh, that it's very nice presented.
Thank you. Yeah.